Welcome to the Author Your Life podcast, where you can write a new script for your life and become the hero of your story. I'm your host, David McRae. You are the author of your life. Let's get started.
All you have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to you.
In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
It is not our abilities that show what we truly are. It is our choices.
Hello, Story Changer, and welcome back to the Author Your Life podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be presenting a piece of training that comes from my upcoming book, Author Your Life, Become the Hero of Your Story. In the weeks leading up to the book's release, and indeed in the weeks just after the book's release, I'm going to be delivering pieces of training that come from the book. So this might be a concept, it might be a strategy, a habit, a tool, a technique that's geared around making a significant change to a key portion of your life. You can enjoy a number of these trainings throughout the weeks and months to come, all coming from my brand new book, which is available for pre-order right now on Amazon. So if you enjoy this training and you think the rest of the book will be equally as useful to you, then make sure you head over to Amazon and pre-order your copy so you get it as soon as it's released. But whilst you're waiting, I'll leave you to enjoy this piece of training that comes from the book.
Hello, Story Changers, and welcome back to another episode of Author Your Life. On this episode, I want to talk about the difference between blame and responsibility. And the reason why I want to tell you about this difference is because today's episode, the ultimate message I want to give you is to take more responsibility. Now, when I tell you to take more responsibility, you might perceive that to be taking more blame. And this is why I want to give you the distinction between the two. Because I think taking responsibility for yourself and for your life is so important. But taking the blame is not. So let's illustrate the difference between the two. When we're talking about blame, blame is about seeing yourself as being at fault, being guilty, being the perpetrator. You might have had a business that you tried to start. The business didn't work out. And you take the blame for the business not working out. You say, it was my deficiencies, it was my problem, it was my inability to make it work. You might have had a relationship that didn't work out, and you say exactly the same thing. The relationship didn't work out because of me, because of my insecurities, because of my inadequacies. You take the blame for these things. Now, sometimes we do have a certain element of fault, a certain element of contributing to something that didn't work out. But taking the blame for something isn't very helpful because it puts us in that guilt mode, it puts us in a victim mode, it puts us in a passive mode. We take the blame and we say, well, it was my fault, it was because of me, lump it all on my shoulders. I don't want you to be taking the blame for things in life. I want you to take responsibility for things in life. And there's a difference between blame and responsibility. Blame is saying that it's your fault. Responsibility is saying, I can do something about it. When you look at the makeup of the word responsibility, it shows responsibility, ability to make a response. So when something happens in your life, I want you to take responsibility for it. I don't want you to take blame for it, I don't want you to take fault for it, but I want you to take responsibility. If a business doesn't work out, take responsibility for it. If a relationship doesn't work out, take responsibility for it. I want you to take responsibility because this is all about looking at, well, what can I do differently? What can I do better? What can I do to change and improve the situation? And that's why responsibility is so useful and so helpful. It's looking at a situation. Maybe it's that business. Businesses don't work out for a whole host of reasons. You might say, well, I had unfortunate competition in the market. There was a recession at this particular time. There were certain circumstances that didn't work out. I can't take blame for those things. Those things were outside of my control. All I can do is look at things and take responsibility and say, well, maybe I should have planned better for poor market conditions. Maybe I should have anticipated some of the circumstances that came up. What could I do differently and what could I improve upon next time? Equally, for a relationship, you might look at a relationship and relationships don't work out for a whole bunch of reasons. You're not at the same point in life. You have differing focuses on your careers. You want children, you don't want children. You want to live in one particular place, you want to live in another particular place. There's a whole host of external circumstances that contribute to a relationship not working out. There are relationships where both people like each other and have a connection with each other, but for whatever reason, there's a time for the relationship to come to an end. So I don't want you to take blame for all of the different factors that contribute to the end of a relationship, but I do want you to take responsibility. I want you to think, well, when I'm looking for a partner in the future, I want to make sure that there is alignment on our career aspirations, on our location preferences. I want to make sure we have the right compatibility and chemistry. And what did I do wrong in that relationship? What could I have done better at? Should I give more time, more attention, more support? This is the power of responsibility. It's looking at a situation and saying there are certain things outside of my control and there's certain things inside of my control. And responsibility is about focusing on what's inside your control and doing your very best in this area. Trying to grow, trying to change, trying to improve. Because even with the best intentions, sometimes things don't work out. And when things don't work out, we still have to take responsibility for it. Responsibility, the ability to respond. When things don't work out, how are you going to respond? What are you going to change? What are you going to do differently? This is the essence of the power of responsibility. It's something that I really want to get across to you today. This is something to start bringing into your life more. Whenever things don't work out, don't look at the things outside of your control. And certainly don't feel and take the blame for things outside of your control. Focus on that area you can control. Take responsibility for it and do your very best in this area. When you start to develop this habit and this trait of responsibility, you start to look at the things in life differently. You stop seeing things as disasters and tragedies. Woe is me, my business didn't work out. Woe is me, my relationship didn't work out. You say, right, this time the business didn't work out. What can I do differently next time? This time the relationship didn't work out. What can I do differently this time? This is the power of responsibility, and I hope it's something you start to bring into your life because it really starts to give you back the power. It gives you back the autonomy. It gives you back the freedom. Author Your Life is all about taking charge of your life, writing the story that you want to write. And a huge part of that is taking responsibility for your story, taking responsibility for yourself, taking responsibility for your life. So folks, I hope you've enjoyed this episode today. I hope you start taking more responsibility and feeling the power of responsibility in your life. As always, I look forward to sharing more with you in the future. But until then, remember that you are the author of your life. You hold the pen, and you can write whatever script you want for yourself. I'll speak to you soon. David.
I'd like to tell you about my book, Author Your Life, Become the Hero of Your Story. This is a book for people who are at a crossroads in life and want to make a fresh start. Judging by the fact that you're listening to this podcast, I suspect that you may well be one of those people. This book is going to help you to change your narrative and rewrite the scripts in life that are holding you back. This book covers the latest science and research showing you how to become the person you want to be and live the life that you want to live. I'd like to invite you to get this book not only because I feel it's a great book that's going to help you, but also it's going to support the podcast as well. I love podcasts, but sometimes all of those ads that you get can be really irrelevant and annoying when you just want to listen to a good piece of training or a good interview. So I therefore made the decision with my podcasts that number one, I wanted my podcast to be free so that everyone could listen to it. And number two, that I wasn't going to fund it through all these annoying and irrelevant adverts and commercials. Therefore, if you want to support the podcast and support all the things that I put out there for free, whether it be here on the podcast, my YouTube channel, other areas on social media, then buying a book is going to enable and help that process. So this is what we call a win-win scenario. By buying the book, you help to support my work and all the free stuff that I put out there, and you also get a really transformational book that's going to help you make those changes that you really want in your life. So if you feel you're someone who's at that crossroads in life, you're looking for a new direction, you're looking for a fresh start, then make sure you get this book. Author Your Life, Become the Hero of Your Story is available on Amazon in ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Whatever your preferred medium, it's there for you to go get right now. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate it hugely if you could head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review for the podcast. With your review, please be as honest and detailed as you can be, because with honest and detailed feedback, that helps me to adapt and grow this podcast to most serve you, the listener. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, then make sure you subscribe to the podcast. That way you aren't going to miss any of the future episodes that we've got lined up for you. Until next time, remember that you are the author of your life. You hold the pen, and you can write whatever script you want for yourself. So go out today and write yourself a beautiful story.